Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This presentation should take about 20 minutes, and then there should be time for questions. I may not have met all of you, so let me just tell you a couple of things about myself. Education has been important in my family for a few generations. Although I tried to avoid it, I ended up teaching and have been teaching for nearly 30 years, primary school, secondary, state schools, Christian schools, and in various subjects. Pursuing further education helped clarify what I believed about education, as well as answering a question that has bothered me for a long time. You see, I noticed that when I visited a kindy or pre-primary class, there was so much enthusiasm for learning. By the time they came to me in high school, students were disengaged and bored. What happened to that love of learning? Research says when there is too much test preparations, students lose their love of learning. A few years ago, there was a death in my family, and that started me on a new journey. My question was, where were the schools for parents who are looking for a Christian education? Not just another Christian school, but wanted to grow their children with a biblical worldview. As I went around asking these questions, I found classical Christian education. Or was it classical Christian education that found me? Christian education has a critical role to play alongside the church and the home in passing on the biblical worldview to the next generation. We are about discipling children. Our mission-minded teachers fulfill their task by using a classical Christian curriculum. Essentially, the curriculum is about the task of building their biblical worldviews. The teachers carry out this task in a highly interactive way with their students. It is our desire to see young people learn God's word, love Him, and live in His world, His way. The foundation of classical Christian education, the trivium, comprises of 3 time-tested phases of learning. Phase 1, the grammar stage, teaches young primary age children knowledge. Phase 2, the logic or dialectic stage, teaches young teens understanding. And phase 3, the rhetoric stage, teaches older teens wisdom. These 3 stages of learning interact each one with the other and complement the way God created children to learn. Young children are naturally inquisitive and are both willing and able to memorize and recite lots of material. So at the grammar stage, we help our children absorb tremendous amounts of information with historical and biblical timelines, as well as master Latin. As children grow older, they typically become argumentative. The goal of the logic stage is to equip students with the thinking skills needed to recognize sound arguments and ideas and to detect correct fallacious ones. At the rhetoric stage, children are starting to become more independent. They're starting to think for themselves, to form their own thoughts and opinions, and to develop their own unique paths in life. It is at this critical stage that classical education teaches young people how to analyze and synthesize their own thoughts, beliefs, and opinions. It's also at this stage when we teach them to communicate those ideas and arguments in a winsome and persuasive way. So what do we teach? In grammar school, we do the everyday subjects mostly in the mornings. That includes Bible, math, history, Latin, and all things English, that is literature, spelling, and grammar. Then in the afternoons, we do the once-a-week subjects, such as science, geography, art, and music. The only homework would be to review a spelling list, go through times table, and read a chapter in their literature book. We study Latin. Why Latin? Perhaps the greatest benefit of Latin is that it trains the mind to think analytically and to pay attention to detail. Every sentence must be carefully constructed. Every part must fit perfectly if the end result is to be a thing of beauty. There are so many word endings in Latin, so many possibilities to make errors, that no progress can be made without a great deal of concentration and sense of pride in one's work. The memory is sharpened in Latin study, since not only vocabulary, but long lists of declensions and conjugations must be learned by rote. In the secondary, there are mainly 7 subjects. There will be time to do some of the work at school, but there will be homework, and the homework time is dependent on how efficiently one uses school time. For all the subjects, we use resources that are written from a biblical worldview. So there's English, science, and math. Let me expand on the other 4 subjects. Firstly, there's Omnibus, more specifically Omnibus Primary and Omnibus Secondary. This program is history, literature, and theology wrapped in one. The primary course is on the great books from ancient times. Students study early biblical works as well as non-biblical works. Omnibus Secondary Books course complements the primary book course. Omnibus 1 focuses on great works of the ancient world, such as Gilgamesh, Hammurabi, histories by Herodotus, culminating in the 1st century. Omnibus 2 covers the great books from the Middle Ages through the Reformation, including Shakespeare, Beowulf. Omnibus 3 is on the great books from modern times, such as Pilgrim's Progress, Tale of Two Cities, etc. There will be a lot of reading. Reading great literature is an important part of a child's education within the classical framework. Reading literature that has endured the test of time, the classics, is important for many reasons. Books develop critical thinking skills. Books let kids try on the world before they have to go out into it. Books help us to understand ourselves and to find out who we are. Books help children and adults to open up, to move beyond self-absorption and connect to other people. Books provide the opportunity to share cultural experiences. Literature, even for the young student, is much more than just reading. In the words of Dr. Seuss, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. I admit that I do not consider myself a reader by nature. I have always read for a purpose, not necessarily for pleasure. My husband, on the other hand, can always be seen with a book. Fortunately, our children have followed his example and are avid readers. I am a very late bloomer, and as a grandmother, I have started reading lots of children's classics, and I'm finding it a great place to start. Logic is another subject that is not commonly taught in schools. Logic is the study of finding and using good reasons for believing something is true. It's a science in that it can help us discover truth about ourselves and the world. It's also an art, and so over time and with practice, we can improve our use of logic and its tools. Students are equipped to analyze and construct arguments in common natural language using inductive reasoning. This course covers the nature of truth, means of knowing, and the justification of belief. It also covers common hurdles to sound thinking and reasonable inference. In the final stages of secondary, the students study rhetoric. The culminating discipline of the trivium, rhetoric, builds upon the skills learned in logic and teaches the students to speak and write in a cohesive and persuasive manner. This course develops students' communication abilities through the ancient art of rhetoric. Students learn what rhetoric is, why it is an essential tool in several situations, how to analyze those situations and their audiences, and how to craft several types of messages using the diverse resources of the classical rhetoric canon. Students will not only increase the clarity of their communication, but also communicate more effectively. Finally, our students study Biblical Greek in the secondary. This is an introductory level course. It provides an overview of the basics of Greek grammar and vocabulary. Students learn grammar and vocabulary by reading several New Testament passages. Finally, students will translate passages in the New Testament, aiding them in their understanding and interpretation of Scripture. We also offer a tertiary pathway for those who are 16 and over. It's called the Daniel Project, delivered on behalf of Eastern College, integrating the Certificate 4 in tertiary preparation. So what next? We would like registrations in term 3 for next year so that we can be adequately prepared with materials to start in February. Once somebody registers their interest, I will make an appointment to come and meet with you. Registrations forms can be found on our website. Our vision is to start micro schools scattered around Perth. We realize that Perth people do not like to travel more than 20 to 30 minutes. Imagine one micro school around central Perth and another 4 at the 4 compass points. We have approached churches for spaces and have started approaching like-minded churches who might consider a ministry of supporting homeschooling families using our micro school model. Thus far, we have established centers in Canning Vale and Kewdale. We are in the process of starting in Fremantle next year. We're also in negotiations with other churches so that in the next few years, we are able to establish centers in the Eastern Hills and further south. So if none of those ventures suit you, let me know. We'll see what we can do. So can I open it for a time of questions now?
Yep, just one from us. What payment model like for this?
Okay, so are you familiar with our website?
Nope. I went on it briefly, yeah.
Okay, sure. So if you on our last slide, you'll have our website, and under frequently asked questions, you'll find the payments. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's a question about I wanted to know what is on offer by way of the arts, music, dance, etc., if anything. It depends on the availability. And so what we do is we have music appreciation in both campuses. At the moment, we have one music teacher who does classroom music at, South Perth is actually moving next term to Kewdale. So I might mix up South Perth and Kewdale. And then she also has individual IMPs. So we have a couple of students who do the violin and a couple of students who do the piano. So mainly the arts we do is music. So a question we frequently get asked is about the use of technology. The students do not require any, although the teachers might use some form of technology for teaching. Mobile phones should not be used during school hours. However, there are opportunities for students to learn this subject outside of school. Then there's the question of registering for homeschooling. Parents will have to register their child as being homeschooled with the education department. We are not a registered school, which means that the moderator will visit parents, not the micro school. What usually happens is that once an appointment has been made, parents let me know so that if we have any study material on campus, we can hand it over so that the parent can show the moderator. The question of discipline, we believe in character formation, and often correction leads to character formation. Basically, the teacher will have a chat with the student. Parents will be informed if there is a recurrent misbehavior or unresolved conflicts at school. Conflict is part of life, and we attempt to be proactive in resolving conflict. Peace-wise, a Christian program on how to deal with challenging relationships and conflict in a healthy way includes a program for children and young people. This is a program that all our students participate in. the question of class size. We call ourselves a micro school because we are small. We aim to cover K to 12 with classes of about 12 to 15 students only. Classes are small in size so that we can provide individual attention to each student at each lesson. If a child is not managing, the teacher knows almost immediately. If a child needs to be extended, that can be done too. Additionally, classrooms are multi-aged so that we can provide teaching that is suited to the student for where they're at, not making assumptions based on their age. Students come to us at different levels. Our students are not placed in a class just because they are of a certain age.
I have a question. My question is related to, I guess, the world view, or the I don't know if what word is the correct word for it, but if we want to get more into understanding of the thinking behind classical Christian education, is there any literature that you recommend families read?
Okay. Yeah. Can I put a message here? Okay, so if you check this out, I think it's just .com. Jonathan, is it classicalu.com? Sorry, I can't give you the exact address. I'm not sure, but if you just check out
it's classicalu.com.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Google this, and one of the things that you will find is lots of material that you can look at. It's actually different courses there that the teachers at our school, we do that for professional development. However, the first course that you'll see in Classical U is for parents. And they've got these short film clips that you can view, and I think you will find them very useful. And then the ones that teachers look at, we actually, buy it, so we have a license to use it. However, anyone can view the first couple of sessions in every course for free. So that might be a way to go. And have a look at our website too. Our website will come up in a minute because we have some material there. At the first page at the bottom, there is a film clip, there is a PDF document. And if you still want more, just send me an email and I can send you more.
Okay, thanks for that.
You're welcome. What faith life of the school, Joshua, you asked. Now, I'm not 100% sure what that means. Do you mean how do we promote faith formation? Is that what you mean? Or what is it that we do that's Christian? I'm going to assume that the question is, how is Christianity incorporated into everyday life in school? All the resources we used are actually written from a Christian worldview, and we mainly use material from Veritas Press. So that's something else you can check out. Let me put that down, Veritas, and you can have a look at that. If you wanted to come and visit us, just send me a message and we'll make find a time suitable for you to come and visit us too.
Sheila, just a question about the South Perth campus. Has it moved to Kewdale?
It will move to Kewdale next term.
Okay, so term 3.
Term 3, yeah.
And where exactly is it in Kewdale?
It's the Perth Alliance Church.
All right. So just because we were very close to the South Perth ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long story.
Yeah.
So I hope that we have answered your questions. If you have more questions after tonight, feel free to send me a message. We can have a chat over the phone or face-to-face, whatever suits you. Shall I say good night? All right. Parents are on a mission to raise children. but that responsibility can be shared within a community. Students are called to something greater than merely passing standardized tests and finding a place in the world of work. Because God has placed eternity in the hearts of image bearers, students know that they are called to something greater. And so when the students whom teachers are blessed to teach ask for bread, teachers ought not to give them stones, rather to give them real wholesome bread. And when students ask teachers for a fish, they ought not to give them a snake. They ought rather to give them real fish, or even better, teach them how to fish. Thanks for your participation. I hope this last screen has some information that directs you where to go. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sheela.
You're welcome.